The last day of the 1979 regular session may be known more for what did not pass than what did. Most significant was the governor's proposed new Constitution. Early in the last day, the House passed 3 articles of that Constitution. The Senate had already passed a whole document. A conference committee was set up, but even then the differences could not be worked out. Mike Waters, the governor's legal advisor, says they have no bitter feelings about the Constitution.
I think if the governor does want to pursue this in the future, that the groundwork has been laid, the foundation is there, and if he wants to pick it up and pursue it, I think he'll have a better chance next time, really, than he had this time going in.
The House also killed a bill which would have forced local communities to put up more money for support of education. A bill to reimburse counties for keeping state prisoners died on the House calendar. In the Senate, a filibuster by Senator Bishop Barron killed a bill which would have allowed table wine to be sold in grocery and convenience stores. Barron objected to the loss of $2 million in tax revenue. Conditional pay raises did pass for state employees and some judges. A teacher and support personnel conditional raise had already passed. Eventually, the House and Senate adjourned. The clock in the Senate did mysteriously stop for a few minutes, but this was to give the House time to adjourn so the Senate could be the last body to gavel to a close the 1979 regular session.
The motion is that the Senate stand in adjournment sine die. All in favor indicate so by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The Senate is adjourned.
It's been a long day and a long session. The clock in the Senate chamber says it's after midnight, and that means both houses of the Alabama legislature have adjourned. But they'll all be back again in February to start the process all over again. Reporting sine die from the state capitol, Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News.
The mayor called Councilman Reed's proposal a warmed-over, badly disguised attempt at a police review board. Reed said the board would not usurp anyone's power, but would be there to hear complaints on all city agencies and handle problems referred to it by the council. The mayor declared there is no need for a citizens review board.
In the ultimate, then the final analysis, the responsibility, failure or success as far as the administration of the affairs of this city are mine. Now, if I've been a failure, 69 days from tomorrow, the people of the city of Montgomery can have their say, whether they want to have a civilian review board on anything and take me and put me back in the ranks of contracting business and put somebody down here who can do a better job. They will have that opportunity.
Most council members agreed with the mayor and voted against the proposed ordinance. The vote was split as it has been on similar issues in the past. Council members Reed, Caswell, and Harris voted for the ordinance, and Golson, Peake, Reynolds, Starr, and Williamson voted against it. Lisa Nielsen, WSFA TV News. The governor pushed for and the legislature killed, Governor James doesn't seem to have fared well this session. His proposal to raise gasoline taxes to improve highways perished early. The legislature approved only half the money the governor wanted to wage his war on illiteracy, and the two houses could not agree on a new state constitution. But the governor still says his approach to the state's problems is effective.
If you got a great big old structure there that needs revitalization, Bessie, the best way to get its attention is walk up to it and hit it as hard as you can first round. Blap. right between the eyes, then you and that structure both know where you stand from then on.
James says he realizes important documents take a long time to formulate, and he'll be happy to get a new constitution next year. On the subject of highways, he says the budget will be tight because of the defeated gas tax bill. The governor also says he has someone in mind to fill the position of retiring mental health director Taylor Hardin, but he would not tell who his candidate is. It's up to the Mental Health Commission to find a new director. All in all, the governor says the foundation is laid for more action next year's session. He says it's hard to get things done when a new administration and a new legislature come to the Capitol at the same time. Lisa Nielsen, WSFA TV News.
The committee reported that although there are still some problems within the prison system, there has been significant improvements made in many areas. Filthy kitchens in which no orderly food inventory was present have been replaced by clean and well-run food service centers. The general cleanliness of all institutions is greatly improved. The general stench present and well remembered from 1976 has been replaced by freshly painted walls and floors that are cleaned twice a day. One of the major changes noted by the committee is the upgrading of personnel, which can be attributed to the substantial increase in salary granted by the legislature and the increase in minimal education requirements. Although violence still occurs at unacceptable levels, weapons are much less common due to better internal security. But there are problems. The committee found farm equipment operated by the prison system to be in deplorable shape. The problem with narcotics has apparently improved little. One area in drastic need for improvement is medical services. The board will be accepting a proposal from Brookwood Health Services of Birmingham on July 31st to provide all phases of medical and psychiatric care for the prison system, including the hiring of medical personnel and physicians. The committee surmised that for the prison system to operate in the fashion it should, the budget for fiscal 1980 needs to be increased by $2.5 million. Prison Commissioner Robert Britton was out of town today, unavailable for comment on the Prison Oversight Committee's report. However, a Board of Corrections spokesman says Britton will be making an official statement later this week. Michael Jones, WSFA TV News at the Board of Corrections building.
On July the 27th, the Atlanta office of the FBI arrested a white male identified as Theodore Behringer of Tyler, Texas, on warrants signed here in Montgomery through the United States Attorney's Office. The suspect is charged with possession of stolen property and interstate transportation of stolen property. The suspect will also face additional charges by the Montgomery Police Department for sale of these machines.
The Alabama Nursing Home Association has been running this commercial as part of its effort to get more Medicaid money to fund the program through the end of this fiscal year, which ends September 30th.
Martha is leaving. She doesn't really have anywhere to go where she can be cared for and be with friends her own age, but she's leaving. She's leaving because, like so many nursing home residents, there's no choice.
Now, I know we have been characterized as kicking people out and this type of thing. I haven't heard anyone say they're going to kick anyone out. And I have not said that.
Your commercial implies that.
It implies that if, for instance, these people cannot get financing.
Association President Wallace Nelson, who also says he knows of no nursing home that will not be able to borrow from banks to make it through the end of September. One of the conditions tacked onto the appropriations bill called for a $12 million surplus at the end of this fiscal year. Does State Finance Director David Bronner forecast such a surplus?
Probably somewhere in the area of slim to none.
So the passage of Senate Bill 596 last night accomplished nothing or had no meaning?
In my estimation, it accomplished absolutely nothing.
Nursing homes claim they would be left in a lurch for quite some time without this money.
Well, I think the only publicity gotten is the nursing home ads on TV. And basically all that has happened is that they're going to get paid like they always do, but one particular check out of 12 different checks is going to be delayed 30 days. That's the only difference totally of what took place with all the hoopla that took place in the media.
Even though the unofficial predictions say there won't be enough money to meet the conditional appropriation, there's a strong chance that Governor James won't sign the bill anyway. James is heavily involved in trying to curb Medicaid expenditures through cost control measures.
And I think we can do that and at the same time improve service within the system. Won't know until the end of next year, but that's long overdue.
Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
What would be one of the few things left that could infuriate the American motorist more than higher gasoline prices? How about being charged for routinely checking under the hood, putting air in the tires, or for honoring credit cards? Well, as of today, service station dealers can charge drivers for those services thanks to a new Department of Energy ruling. According to Mitch Carmen of the Economic Regulatory Administration, there is no pricing scale for any of the services, which also includes cleaning your windshield. DOE feels the free enterprise system will determine the prices. However, dealers cannot pass along the new charges in the form of higher gasoline prices and can't use the services to force motorists to buy anything else. Here in Montgomery, a spot check revealed dealers are aware of the changes, but at the moment apparently not ready to implement them. There has already been a big furor in the nation's capital over the new rulings, and this could be one of the rare times motorists and service station dealers side together protesting the same thing. Paul Roth, WSFA TV News.
The president's 29-year-old son told reporters his father is relaxed and confident in the White House and believes the people are with him in trying to fight the energy problem. Chip says he's been hearing a lot from citizens who are concerned about energy, and he thinks his father's inability to pass legislation in that area has hurt him in the polls.
I also think that the low polls show that people are mad about energy. The poll that I saw, one poll I saw when Dad was 27%, the Congress was 11% in the same one. I think they are going to work together now, and I think it's going to be beneficial for the country. The people being mad hurts us in the polls, but it helps us get energy legislation passed through Congress, so it's kind of a two-edged sword.
Chip spoke confidently of his father's chances for re-election.
The question was how concerned he is about a challenge from Senator Kennedy. I would say unconcerned. He doesn't expect Senator Kennedy to run, and the private conversations between Dad and the Senator are not something that I can discuss. If the Senator runs, I think Dad graphically displayed what he intended to do, and I would say that he would beat anybody that runs against him since he will be reelected.
Chip Carter met briefly with Governor James after the news conference, but the governor has said it's too early for him to endorse any candidate for the 1980 presidential election. Lisa Nielsen, WSFA TV News.
At about the same time that student competency testing came before the State Board of Education, discussion was given toward implementing a teacher competency test. But State School Superintendent Dr. Wayne Teague suggested an alternative method of culling out the poor instructors. Teach the principals and administrators more about personnel selection, staff development, and if needed, the due process involved in releasing teachers from the rolls. For the past 3 days, administrators have undergone one-day sessions. Department of Education spokesman Eldon Johnson.
Because each school system is unique, and what we're trying to do is to develop an overall plan where each school system may improve their techniques and strategies for employing of personnel and then their development process within the time of employment.
An estimated 1,500 administrators and principals attended these management training sessions during the last 3 days throughout the state. There are 3 more such sessions planned in October, February, and April. It's during those next 3 sessions that the administrators and principals will be able to come back and react to the information already given to them and explore new ideas. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
Hilda Priester should be nicknamed Wonder Woman. No, she can't leap tall buildings, but she is a wonder at women's tennis. Since 1968, Miss Priester has dominated area tennis. She practically owns the Montgomery Closed Tournament Championship. Just last week, she accomplished a grand slam. singles, doubles, and mixed doubles title. That is nothing new for Hilda. In 1972, she won the Grand Slam at the State Close tournament. That will be her intent when the competition begins next Thursday in Birmingham. For personal reasons, she has not competed in singles for the last 4 years, but she will try to regain that title this year. What she has lost in quickness, she hopes to have gained in experience.
At the state this year, maybe the experience might pay off a little bit. You never know who's there, so you don't know really what to expect, but there'll be a lot of youngsters there trying to win.
For quite a few years, you were ranked #1 in singles. Do you think that's possible to regain that ranking after being laid off for 4 years?
Again, it probably depends on the people and the caliber of tennis there. Again, I've lost a lot of my quickness, and it'll just depend.
Experience counts for a lot in any sport, but when the noonday sun starts shining, experience tends to dissolve into tears of sweat. The odds makers will tell you Hilda Priester is too old to win another singles title, but then you never know what a Wonder Woman can accomplish. Fred Albers, WSFA TV Sports.
Britain told reporters the improvement in the state prison system can be attributed primarily to the prison personnel and to a general upgrading of their morale. In regards to medical service for inmates, the Brookwood Medical Services of Birmingham submitted a proposal Wednesday to the commissioner on providing medical and psychiatric care for the entire system. Britain said bids will be taken from other health service companies in an effort to provide improved service at a lesser cost. One of the major problems cited by the Oversight Committee's report was the continued violence in prisons, even though the level has decreased somewhat. In a matter-of-fact manner, Britain said the problem will be resolved.
There's 2 ways to run a prison. The inmates run it, we're going to run it. We are going to run it.
A major source of criticism of the Board of Corrections has been Alabama's good time law, which some feel is far too lenient.
Presently, we give good time and then let the inmate try to earn it. That will be changed. They'll earn it, and then they'll be rewarded with good time. And so there's going to be a complete change in our classification and our good time, too, on what I'm going to recommend. The legislature may not go along with it. But we cannot have any great change because of our overcrowdedness right now. But there will be a significant difference for those inmates who earn it and then those who do not.
Michael Jones, WSFA TV News reporting.
Jackson and Price are charged with having overstated, through false statements to the Department of Agriculture, over 100,000 lunches that they claimed were served during the period from 1974 through November of 1979, February of 1979. And the grand jury alleges that James Price realized through this scheme some $21,000.
Governors James of Alabama, Busby of Georgia, and Graham of Florida met at the governor's mansion to discuss problems between the 3 states in association with the proposed estuarine sanctuary for the Apalachicola Bay in Florida. Up until now, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers had been unable to dredge the Apalachicola River to the depth of 9 feet necessary for barge traffic from upstream on the Chattahoochee and Flint rivers. This dredging problem was the major topic of discussion as the governors were briefed by the Corps of Engineers and officials of the Office of Coastal Zone Management in Washington. Governors James and Busby indicated support for the estuarine sanctuary as long as river transportation was maintained and eventually improved to the 95% use level authorized by Congress. Governor Graham of Florida, however, said he was not prepared to commit to 95% use. At a news conference later, Governor George Busby told reporters that they had decided to each designate a staff member to continue working on the navigation problem and the sanctuary. Then Governor Bob Graham announced the issuing of a permit to the Corps of Engineers for the necessary dredging.
The governors spent a majority of their time working out problems of maintenance dredging of the river system. This will allow barge traffic to continue. Problems they did not discuss included Atlanta's water supply, which could be in jeopardy because of the estuarine sanctuary. Another possible problem, the management of the sanctuary, which so far does not include input from the states of Alabama or Georgia. At the governor's mansion in Atlanta, Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News.
The grand jury charges Flowers with having made false statements concerning the misuse of some $3,000. Each of these counts carries a penalty of up to 5 years or $10,000 or both.
With a great deal of fanfare, Governor Bob Graham of Florida gave the Corps a permit to dredge the Apalachicola River in Florida. Corps officials in Mobile said because of problems with the wording of the permit pertaining to dredging the deepest part of the river, they have put off bidding the project. Corps officials said otherwise the permit is, quote, largely operable. In the Atlanta meeting, the governors of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida decided to appoint staff members to coordinate future negotiations on navigation of the river system and the proposed estuarine sanctuary and how it would change that navigation. Governor James has yet to appoint his representative, but Walter Stevenson of the State Planning Office has been suggested as the likely choice. Mike Waters, legal advisor to Governor James, says they viewed the Atlanta meeting with mixed emotions.
We didn't really resolve anything yesterday in terms of working out Alabama and Georgia input on the management committee of the sanctuary in terms of how those problems will be dealt with by the sanctuary's management committee itself. And there could be some short-range problems, and certainly there could be some long-range problems if we do not resolve some mechanism or find some mechanism for having input from Alabama and Georgia on the Sanctuary Management Committee.
Governor Bob James and other state officials who traveled to Atlanta indicated some disappointment, and it's this disappointment that Florida officials hope does not translate into a federal court suit. Dennis Latham, WSFA TV News at the Governor's Office.
Montgomery attorney John Bolton told TV 12 News the suit filed on behalf of First Alabama Bank of Birmingham seeks to recover nearly $27,000 in past due rent from the Country USA nightclub on the Atlanta highway. Named as defendants are Namu Patel and John Yasmint. The doors of the country night spot were locked July 15th for what could be the last time. Published reports today said there may have been alleged mismanagement of funds, not only in regard to the past due rent, but also with payments of creditors. Radio station WBAM account executive Bill Douglas confirmed Country USA is more than $2,000 in debt to the station for advertisements. Asked how a client could run up such a large unpaid sum over several months, Douglas replied, Country USA paid in advance for several previous months of advertising, and the owners later just kept putting them off. Douglas noted the station's attorney is now looking into the matter. District Attorney Jimmy Evans says those persons who haven't been paid may have no choice but to take legal action. Evans says anyone having questions about the matter can contact his office. Paul Roth, WSFA TV News.
The purpose is to upgrade the services, is to help preschool personnel and those who work in public school as well, to help them upgrade the quality of the programs they provide for their children, in all areas, not only just the curriculum, but even in the home as well.
2 years ago, the Alabama Nursing Home Association won a court battle with federal judge Frank Johnson that forced the state to draw up a new Medicaid program. The complaint dealt with reimbursement procedures. The Nursing Home Association was still disgruntled with the new plan, but lost a second court attempt to change it. That decision was taken to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans. A part of that challenge dealt with the association's history of being underfunded by the legislature year after year. This week, the association went back to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, seeking to have that original appeal expedited for what they call their dire situation in connection with this year's shortage of Medicaid dollars. The nursing home officials say postponing one of their Medicaid reimbursement checks violates a provision of the state constitution which prohibits one fiscal year's bills from being paid any time in the next fiscal year. The administration, however, says no such violation is occurring. The administration also says that the history of underfunding will be cured when cost control measures are implemented within the entire Medicaid system. The nursing home officials say inflation will outrun cost containment and they'll fall short again at the end of the 1980 fiscal year. The court battle has other Medicaid providers uneasy. Nursing homes supply about 5% of the eligible Medicaid recipients with over 44% of all Medicaid dollars. And this court battle could lead to yet another change in the Medicaid system. And during that possible change, federal officials could withhold all Medicaid dollars. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.
We will not tolerate any violence or any intimidations or anything like that. And we will make sure that the demonstration and their march or whatever they plan to do will be kept within the bounds of city ordinances. They will not be allowed to carry any firearms or any weapons of any sort.
What precautions will the Montgomery Police Department take to make sure that they do not carry guns under their robes, as has been reported in some other marches?
Well, you know, I have a little experience with searching, but we will see to it there will not be any weapons carried tomorrow in the parade by anybody except Montgomery police officers and other law enforcement officers that will be with us.
And the problem is that it has a deficiency of chloride in the formulation, which is tends to cause an illness known as metabolic alkalosis.
What is metabolic alkalosis?
Well, that's a disorder of metabolism that could cause failure to grow, could cause lethargy, could even cause nausea and vomiting, tendency to sleep more than normal.
How serious should parents take this recall?
Well, I would not be overly concerned because it requires a period of probably several months to develop the problem. I would not continue to feed this formula.
Left-hand side, in the middle. See. The grass and stuff has been stomped down pretty bad, so there's been traffic work.
Number 43, the red and blue stripe racing machine, is familiar to NASCAR fans. The car belongs to Richard Petty, the crown king of the NASCAR circuit. But this weekend at Talladega, another STP machine will be on the track and another Petty behind the wheel. Kyle Petty, Richard's 19-year-old son, has finally made the big leagues. He was supposed to race in the World 600 in May, but he crashed his car in practice. Then he tried again for the Firecracker 400 in July. Again, he crashed the car. He had a long talk with his father after that second crash, and his dad says all the boy needs is experience.
Really, when you get asking, about any talents, it's really too early to tell. He's got to want to. Now all he's got to do is, learn to put something with it. So he's run a lot of short tracks, and Now he's, back down to try Talladega, and the deal is he's just going to have to get some experience before we really tell whether he's got the right talents or not.
Kyle Petty will pick up some experience this weekend. In yesterday's qualifying run, he drove his heavy Dodge Magnum around the tri-oval track with an average speed of 186.297 miles an hour. He says the accidents are past him now. He's ready to race.
It really affected my confidence on the track as far as that goes, as much as it made me mad at myself because I knew I could do it, and I went and messed up again. So I figure, I've had plenty of time to think about everything that went on before the wreck and after the wreck, and as far as that goes, so here we are again.
How would you rate yourself as a driver right now?
I'd rate myself as a beginner. I've drove 4 or 5 races really, and I think it takes 2 or 3 years to even see whether you're capable of being a driver or not, so I'm a beginner.
It seems like every year, and I have some personal friends in that ball club, and I guess that's the reason I picked the Phillies.
And that's the sports tonight, Bob.
Thanks, Phil. That's it for the 6 o'clock report. We'll see you at 10. The Muppets and Cheryl Ladd are next.
Cheryl Ladd? Cheryl Ladd? 20 seconds to curtain, Miss Ladd.
Oh, thank you, Scooter. I just can't seem to get my costume off.
Off? You're supposed to put it on.